I'm Sanya.
And I'm Lara, and together we're Vegan MamaNana.
Today we're going to make a couple of summer recipes for you.
Yes, I'm going to be making a summer chowder, and I'm going to be using some vegetables from my garden. I have carrots and summer squash right now, zucchini.
And I'm going to be making a spinach pesto that we're going to serve on some chickpea pasta. The first recipe we're going to start with is Mom's summer chowder.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get the kernels and the corn milk off of the corn cobs. I'm going to show you how to do it with a knife, and then it's the exact same thing, only I have this lovely little tool that my daughter gave me, and I love it. Anyway, so when we're cutting the kernels off of the corn cob, we're trying to cut them in half. I don't want to go all the way to the core. So you can see I'm just cutting the kernels off and leaving some on the cob. So right now the cob looks like this. So I'm taking the flat part of the knife, not the sharp part, and I'm going to scrape down to the cob here. Yeah, it gets messy. I usually do this in the sink, to tell you the truth. I put a bowl in the sink and do it in there. It's a lot easier to clean up, but that's all right. We'll just do it like this. And you want to just scrape all the way down. So you can see I pretty much cleaned the cob. I could go over it again. And I don't know if you can see, but there's this milky juice from the corn that we call the corn milk. Now here's with this little scraper. And then I just take the back of it and do the same thing to where I'm just scraping off the rest of the kernel, getting all that good corn juice, but I like to call it corn milk because it looks like milk. It's white, and a lot of the flavor of the corn is on there. Okay, so I'm going to be making a summer chowder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by heating up my pan, and I learned about this from Chef AJ. And she says to let your pan get nice and hot, and then we're going to water saute some onions. So we know the pan's hot when we put some water in it, and it makes little balls, and the little balls of water jump around. It's not doing that yet, so it's not quite hot enough. Okay, I'm going to go with that one. It could get a little hotter, but I'm going to put the onions in. So I've got one onion here, nice and chopped up, and I'm going to water saute it. So we don't want the onions to brown, okay, because the chowder is a white base. And as they cook, just going to add a tiny little bit of water, just to keep them from sticking. And then this is probably going to take around 20 minutes. I'm going to add some of this vegetarian chicken broth to the water. I have 1 clove of garlic. And that just barely needs to be sauteed. So as these onions were cooking, I added just like a tablespoon of water at a time, just a tiny little bit. And just to keep it so that they're sauteing and not steaming so much. And now I'm going to add some chopped potatoes. I have some carrots. And then I'm going to add my broth. And I want to make sure and not add too much, because I've done that before. And then when you add your plant-based milk, it gets too soupy. And because this is a chowder, yeah, that's about all we need. And then we need to cover it, and you're just going to cook the potatoes and carrots until they're nice and soft. And a bay leaf, very important. Okay, so the potatoes and the carrots and the onions and garlic have cooked in the broth. along with that nice bay leaf, and they're nice and soft. So what we're going to do next is take a little masher and just mash everything up. We'll take the bay leaf when the soup is finished cooking. So I just mash it up until it's chunky. And now I'm going to add the other vegetables. I'm going to add some yellow squash, which I've chopped up, and some zucchini. And I'm going to add just a tiny little bit more of our broth. So that's 2 cups of liquid that I've added in total there. Now we're going to just cover it again and let those squashes cook. It'll take around 10 minutes or so. Okay, so the zucchini and yellow squash have been cooking in here, and they're nice and soft. Now, I make kind of big cuts, so I'm even going to cut them down a little bit more just by mashing, because they're soft enough to mash. And then we're going to add the corn and some spinach, because I like to have a little green in there. And you know, if I had some fresh peas, that would be really good in there too. So I'm adding the corn that we cut off from the cob, and you can easily use canned or frozen corn. It's okay. I just happen to have some nice fresh corn. And just a little bit of a handful of chopped up spinach. And that needs to cook, what, around 2 or 3 minutes? Barely anything. I'm just going to stir it around. And I'm also going to add some dill. Nice fresh dill. Okay, so that's just about done. I've got some plant-based milk to add. So I'm going to add that right now. I have 1 cup. But you know, you just have to eyeball it and use as much as you think you want. Now look, isn't that beautiful? Oh, and there's that bay leaf. Let's get that bay leaf out of there.
Don't forget the bay leaf.
We're so lucky we live in California. We got wild bay laurel trees living, and they are living. They're growing. And I like to gather them once a year, and then I have nice fresh bay leaves for my cooking.
Okay, so we're going to make this summer spinach pesto. It starts with a whole lemon. This is a Meyer lemon. I'm really lucky. My neighbors next door have a beautiful Meyer lemon tree, and sometimes I steal lemons, but not really. They told me I could. So anyways, give your lemon a good roll. That really helps soften up the juices in there. And while I'm squeezing the lemon into the Vitamix, Mom's going to crush the garlic. This is the shorter Vitamix container. This is the 6 cup, just so you know, just for reference. Do that, and you can crush the garlic.
Okay.
That is a juicy lemon.
Those Meyer lemons are so good.
And I like to use a whole lemon in this. This is a different kind of a pesto. It's very fresh, and that's why I call it a summer pesto. Just that lemon makes it so juicy.
Just a big lemon.
It's a big lemon. If you are using a smaller lemon, you might want to use 2 lemons for this recipe. Okay, and so here's the garlic. You just plop that in there. Now, traditionally, for a pesto, you would be using some pine nuts, or some people use walnut. There's different nuts that people use for pestos, but because we're trying to keep things as low fat as possible, I'm using garbanzo beans. So I have about a cup of garbanzo beans that I'm gonna go ahead and put in there.
And they've been rinsed, right?
Yeah. So then I just have this container of pre-washed spinach, organic, and I actually just fill up the whole blender with that. Just go for it. This pesto is so green because of how bright the spinach is when you blend it. It's so beautiful on the pasta. That's gonna chop up your garlic and everything. And you don't want to put too much fluid in there because there's so much water in the spinach. This will probably need a little bit more fluid. So this definitely needs some more fluid. I wouldn't add any more lemon to it, but I am going to add just a little bit of water. So I added 4 tablespoons of nutritional yeast and blended on high for about 30 seconds. It really doesn't take very long for it all to come together. And then we cooked this bonza chickpea pasta for about 8 minutes. So I just take all the pasta and I just pour the pesto right on top.
And it's kind of liquidy, huh? It's not as thick as a normal pesto.
No, it's not a thick pesto. Really though, because there's no fat in it, you don't want it to be too thick because
pasta has starch.
Yeah,
so it kind of thickens it.
It sort of thickens it, and
it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. I can just see a ripe red tomato as a garnish.
Okay, so we're going to serve these dishes up for you and for us. Okay, so we have the finished product. This is the pesto pasta, and we just added a little bit of tomato. This is a black creme tomato that I grew in my yard, and it's absolutely beautiful. I think it's just perfect.
My mouth is watering.
And then what I like to do, I just sometimes miss having Parmesan on my pasta, so I just like to add a little bit of nutritional yeast on top. And then Mom cut up some fresh basil. This is also from my yard, and you just kind of put that on top too. And I also like a little bit of fresh ground pepper. You can add salt to it, but you'll be surprised it's going to taste so good without. Go ahead.
I gotta taste it. It looks so good. Oh, that is good. I love that pasta. I've never made chickpea pasta before. I gotta eat one of these beautiful tomatoes.
This is so tasty, and both of my girls love this pesto pasta. They love it. It's very garlicky and lemony, and if you love that kind of a flavor,
it's good.
You're not going to go wrong.
This is the chowder, and as you can see, it's thick. And I'm going to give you a spoon.
Very
I
thick.
can just see a little basil, but we have dill in here. I'm not sure how dill and basil would look.
Look how beautiful this is. It's
taste
so
it.
thick.
Hot.
Oh my gosh, it smells amazing.
It's very good. It really is good. I love the squashes in there.
Again with the dill, just like in our last episode. But the fresh dill is just so fragrant and summery, of course.
It's dilly.
Oh my gosh.
Dilly summer chowder. Dilly summer chowder. That might be a better title.
That is so good. It's the sweet corn in it.
The fresh corn.
Oh.
I'm going to try putting basil on here just to see how it tastes.
I mean, you can't go wrong with fresh basil either.
Oh, you guys, that's good.
Is it? Okay.
It's good.
So another option, add some fresh basil.
But anyway, I think that's the end of our summer recipes. Although we've got a lot more.
So many more, but those are the 2 recipes we wanted to share with you today.
Yeah. So, bon appetit.
Bon appetit. Hey there, just a real quick note. We forgot to mention both of the recipes will be in the comments below. So take a look there for exact measurements and hope you enjoy. Goodbye.